President Holloway will present the honorary degree candidates and confer their degrees.
One of the most prestigious honors any university can bestow is an honorary degree, a degree which is conferred honoris causa, or for the sake of honor. Through this public action, Rutgers acknowledges individuals whose exceptional achievements support the ideals of the university and serve as an example for our students, alumni, and society. I'm pleased to introduce the distinguished individuals who will receive honorary degrees this year. A detailed accounting of their accomplishments can be found in your commencement program. Our first candidate is Ms. Lori Garrett, who will receive an honorary Doctor of Science degree. World-renowned expert on infectious diseases, Lori Garrett has devoted her life's work to investigating epidemics, educating the citizenry, and advocating for stronger public health infrastructures worldwide. We will now play a short tribute video to honor Ms. Garrett.
Respected public health expert and scientific journalist, you have dedicated your life's work to investigating and writing about the causes and trajectories of infectious diseases around the world. Traveling the world to investigate viruses and epidemics that can cripple communities, you foresaw that contagious outbreaks were not a thing of the past, despite mainstream opinion that the threat had been conquered with the advent of antibiotics and vaccines. In 2005, you predicted a catastrophic epidemic that would result in substantial loss of human life and economic woes, warning that borders would be closed, trade paused, and quarantines instituted around the world. Your second book, Betrayal of Trust: The Collapse of Global Public Health, turned the spotlight on crumbling public health infrastructures and sounded the alarm, making the meticulously researched case that increased globalization and deteriorating public health care have left communities susceptible to and vastly ill-prepared to combat re-emerging diseases, antibiotic-resistant microbes, and bioterrorism. Named the prophet of this pandemic by the New York Times, and the only individual to receive the Pulitzer Prize, the Peabody Award, and the George Polk Award, you are one of the world's most authoritative writers on global infectious diseases, sharing your findings through knowledge-based journalism to educate the citizenry and ultimately influence policy.
Lori Garrett, now therefore by virtue of the authority vested in me by the boards of governors and trustees of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, I am pleased to confer upon you, honoris causa, the degree of Doctor of Science, with all rights, responsibilities, privileges, and immunities pertaining to it, and in token of which I present you with this diploma and direct that you be vested in the hood emblematic of the degree. Our next candidate is Dr. Rush Holt, who will receive an honorary Doctor of Laws degree. Dr. Holt earned his PhD in physics, holds a patent for harnessing energy from sunlight, and served as the Chief Executive Officer of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. But he also served as the United States Representative for the 12th District of New Jersey for 16 years, passionately upholding the values of public service and frequently relying on his scientific knowledge, working tirelessly for the betterment of society. We will now play a short tribute video to honor Dr. Holt.
Renowned scientist and politician, you served the citizens of New Jersey and the nation admirably as a United States Representative for the 12th Congressional District of New Jersey. Your humble act of asking to be identified as representative rather than congressman reflects your commitment to public service and is emblematic of your integrity, moral compass, and humanity. Tirelessly representing your constituents, you served with passion, lending your scientific knowledge, intellectual curiosity, and genuine concern to a broad range of issues such as civil liberties, election security, education, and access to health care. A staunch advocate for using government for good, you championed increased funding for science and technology research, and the need to improve science education, fought for decreased dependence on fossil fuels, led efforts to fund infrastructure improvements, protected open space, and stood with those who are struggling, pained, or disenfranchised. You have been a stalwart proponent for increased access to higher education, pursuing funding efforts, and writing the College Cost Reduction Act. A luminary of public service and a mentor at heart, you have been a great friend to Rutgers, contributing your time and valuable insight to classes, seminars, and forums related to science and government, and donating your congressional papers to enlighten and inspire others.
Rush Holt, now, therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the boards of governors and trustees of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, I am pleased to confer upon you, honoris causa, the degree of Doctor of Laws, with all rights, responsibilities, privileges, and immunities pertaining to it, and in token of which I present you with this diploma and direct that you be vested in the hood emblematic of the degree. Next, Ms. Gwendolyn Willow Wilson, known as G. Willow Wilson, will receive an Honorary Doctor of Letters degree. Perhaps best known as the co-creator of Marvel Comics' Ms. Marvel series, featuring Kamala Khan, a Muslim American teenager from Jersey City. A New Jersey native herself, Ms. Wilson has also authored 2 acclaimed novels, a memoir, an award-winning graphic novel, and has written for numerous other comics franchises, including DC Comics' Wonder Woman. We will now play a short tribute video to honor Ms. Wilson.
Proud daughter of New Jersey, novelist, essayist, and comics writer, you were sought out by Marvel Comics to co-create and write the first Muslim superhero, Kamala Khan. A Pakistani-American teenager, Kamala Khan provides a positive depiction of a young Muslim American female living in Jersey City, New Jersey. The many accolades and honors you receive for your prose underscore your tremendous ability to entwine history and imagination. Your writing breaks down barriers for many Muslim Americans struggling to find identity in popular culture as you write from your own experience. Raised in an atheist household, you studied religion and chose to convert to Islam during your journey to Cairo. Your memoir, The Butterfly Mosque, a young American woman's journey to love in Islam, illuminates your struggles to submerge yourself in a new religion and culture at a time when tensions were equally felt in the West and the Middle East. In their honesty and realism, your stories have championed diversity through awareness and empathy. Your characters are relatable, and your prose immerses the reader in a culture that may be unfamiliar, only to emerge better informed, more understanding, and appreciative of not just the differences, but also the similarities amongst us.
Gwendolyn Willow Wilson, now, therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the boards of governors and trustees of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, I am pleased to confer upon you, honoris causa, the degree of Doctor of Letters, with all rights, responsibilities, privileges, and immunities pertaining to it, and in token of which I present you with this diploma and direct that you be vested in the hood emblematic of the degree. And now I am pleased to introduce the presenter of the 2021 University Commencement Address. Ms. Natasha Trethewey will be addressing the class of 2021 momentarily, but first I'd like to present her with an honorary doctorate of letters. 2-time United States Poet Laureate for the state of Mississippi, best-selling author, and Pulitzer Prize winner, Natasha Trethewey has focused her life's work on examining the intersections and contentions between public and personal history, national memorialization and forgetting, and the fraught legacy of race in America, seamlessly blending individual and collective experience from the Civil War to civil rights. Ms. Trethewey's work illuminates the history of American trauma and resilience, inspiring her readers to reflect and learn while engaging in intricate stories that captivate. We will now play a short tribute video to honor Ms. Trethewey.
Lauded poet, 2-time United States Poet Laureate, and Pulitzer Prize-winning author, you have been a resonating voice for those who have been disenfranchised and neglected in a social system fraught with divisiveness and discrimination. Seamlessly blending life experience, history, and racial identity into beautiful verse, you have found inspiration in the stories of those long forgotten, etching into your readers' minds the beauty and intricacy of those who came before you, and weaving historical research with tales of suffering, hope, and purpose to give those who were voiceless a face. Writing through the lens of being born and raised in Mississippi, your thoughtful and powerful words accentuate the dissonance between our nation's higher ideals and the injustices endured daily, challenging your readers to look inward, as you have so articulately epitomized. Your numerous accolades include the 2016 Academy of American Poets Fellowship, and the Heinz Award for Arts and Humanities, and the induction into preeminent academies. Your voice is one of heightened awareness of oneself and the world in which we live, challenging the status quo and educating your readers about the disparities felt by those outside the majority, with eloquent lyricism that exposes the frailty and complexity of human nature.
Natasha Trethewey. Now, therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the boards of governors and trustees of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, I am pleased to confer upon you, honoris causa, the degree of Doctor of Letters, with all rights, responsibilities, privileges, and immunities pertaining to it, and in token of which I present you with this diploma and direct that you be vested in the hood emblematic of the degree.